He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He didn't even flinch. She expected fire, drama, emotion. She was ready for the same back and forth cycle. But this time, he gave her nothing. No texts, no chase, no explanation. And that silence, that unbothered stillness, it rattled her more than any words ever could. Because she didn't expect him to stay calm. She expected him to break, to beg, to react. But a man who's mastered himself doesn't hand out emotional responses like gifts. He doesn't lose composure to prove a point. He lets others exhaust themselves trying to get a rise out of him while he remains unshaken. That's not apathy. That's discipline. This is what separates men who are played from men who are remembered. Because in today's world, emotional control is power, not the kind that seeks attention, but the kind that commands respect. And the man who can feel everything and show nothing, he becomes the one they never forget, not because of what he said, but because of what he withheld. This is dark, stoic control, not cold, calculated, not numb, ruthlessly composed. This isn't about being heartless. It's about being undefeable. If you're ready to stop being predictable, stop being baited, and start becoming the calm force in the chaos, hit that like button. Subscribe to Stoic Blessing, turn on notifications, and comment below. Power is quiet. Now, let's begin. Number 1. When you don't react, you flip the power dynamic. When you don't react, you flip the power dynamic. People are conditioned to believe that power is loud, that whoever yells first, moves fastest, or strikes hardest wins. But in reality, power is still, strategic, silent, and the moment you stop reacting, you flip the entire balance of control without lifting a finger. She was counting on you to fold, to blow up, to break character. She said what she said not just to be heard, but to be felt. She wanted to provoke emotion because emotion makes you predictable. Once you react, you reveal. You give away leverage. You show your attachment, your insecurities, your emotional investment. And once that's visible, you're exposed. But when you don't react, when you maintain full composure, no matter how personal it gets, you become unreadable. And that unreadability, it's power, because now she doesn't know where she stands. She's playing a game that only works when you engage, and suddenly the rules don't apply. You didn't get cold, you got in control, you didn't become passive, you became impossible to manipulate. Because true dominance isn't about dominating her, it's about dominating yourself. And when you master your reaction, you stop responding to chaos and start commanding the energy in the room. That's when she starts questioning everything. Her words lose weight, her tactics lose traction, and that confidence she thought she had over you gone. You didn't win by overpowering her, you won by not needing to play. That's what dark stoic control is. Not responding out of emotion, but responding only when it serves you. 2. Emotional discipline is the ultimate intimidation. Number 2, emotional discipline is the ultimate intimidation. There's nothing more unsettling to someone who thrives on control than a man who feels everything and shows nothing. A man who doesn't blink when provoked, who listens, watches, absorbs, but never gives her what she's expecting. That's not weakness. That's emotional discipline. And it's terrifying to anyone who can't match it. Because when she comes at you with accusations, attitude, or silence meant to punish, and you respond with steady calm, no shift in tone, no emotional collapse, it exposes something uncomfortable. She doesn't control the temperature anymore. You do. Your reactions used to be predictable. She knew exactly what buttons to push, but now she's dealing with someone who's not on the hook. someone who's seen the game, studied the moves, and made a conscious decision not to bite. And that kind of self-control, that shakes people. It makes us spiral, not because you're being cruel, but because you're no longer emotionally available to manipulate. She wants to know if you're mad, if you care if she still has access. But the man with emotional discipline doesn't give clarity where it hasn't been earned. He moves on his terms, not hers. That quiet composure forces her to face herself. And most people aren't ready for that. Because when you stop reacting, all they're left with is their own reflection. You didn't have to fight. You just had to hold the line, and that made you more powerful than any outburst ever could. 3. Reaction is proof of attachment. Stillness is proof of strength. 3. Reaction is proof of attachment. Stillness is proof of strength. Every time you react, you send a signal. This matters to me. It might be anger, frustration, sadness, or panic, but the emotion gives it away. She knows she still has a grip on your mind, your mood, your peace. That even in her absence, even in conflict, she's still taking up space inside you. That's why she pushes, why she tests, why she triggers, not to understand you, but to measure your attachment. And the second you lash out, defend, or chase, she knows you're still emotionally invested. But when you stop reacting, when you stay still in the face of all the noise, you send a different message, one that cuts deeper than any insult or reply. You're not controlled. You're unreachable. You've stepped out of the emotional exchange and into mental clarity. You don't give her the data she's looking for. You don't show your hand. You don't allow her to calculate your feelings by your outbursts because there aren't any. Just a steady presence, a man grounded in self-respect and purpose, a man who isn't moved by provocation, but by principle. That kind of stillness isn't passive, it's surgical. It dismantles her assumptions. It creates tension because now she's reacting to your lack of reaction. You didn't become cold. You became complete. And the moment you stopped showing attachment is the moment for. The man who controls his energy controls the outcome. You started showing power. 4, the man who controls his energy controls the outcome. Every situation you walk into, you bring one of two things, calm or chaos. And whichever one you bring, you shape the entire tone of the moment. Most men don't realize that. They give away their energy freely, react to every word, every look, every delay in a text message. They let the room dictate their state, and in doing so, they forfeit control. But the man who controls his energy, he controls the outcome. He doesn't let her bad mood shift his confidence. He doesn't allow manipulation to trigger desperation. He doesn't need to force clarity because he creates it by staying rooted. That type of control turns him into a psychological fortress. He becomes the center of gravity, not the one orbiting someone else's emotions. She can cry, yell, ghost, guilt trip. It doesn't matter. He sees it, registers it, and decides whether it deserves a response. And most of the time, it doesn't, because his energy isn't a reaction. It's a resource. It's not given away lightly. It's not thrown around just to feel seen. It's conserved, protected, and deployed with intention. That's why women remember this kind of man long after he's gone. Because he was never dragged into emotional drama. He never cracked. He never looked like he was chasing. His energy was too focused, too disciplined, too valuable to waste on low-frequency games. And when you move like that, people stop trying to throw you off because they realize you don't react to the moment you define it. 5. Her tests stop when you stop playing 5. Her tests stop when you stop playing. She wants to know if she still has influence, if she can still affect your emotions. That's why she tests. Subtle jabs, delayed replies, hot and cold behavior. saying one thing, doing another. It's not always malicious. It's instinctual. It's how people look for control without asking for it directly. And every time you bite, every time you argue, explain, or overcorrect, you confirm she still holds power. But the man who doesn't react, he doesn't play. He sees the test for what it is, emotional fishing. And instead of snapping at the bait, he stays unmoved. He doesn't question his worth over mixed signals. He doesn't beg for consistency. He doesn't chase approval from someone trying to provoke a chase. His silence isn't avoidance, it's a boundary. And here's what happens when you stop playing. The game ends, not because she surrendered, but because she finally realized there's no power to gain here, no emotional chaos to feed off, no drama to anchor herself in. She can't win if you're not playing. And that makes you the one she can't figure out. The one who doesn't flinch. The one who makes her wonder, not because you're trying to, but because you refuse to react. You become untouchable, not because you're trying to win her over, but because you've already won yourself. 6. Silence triggers reflection more than words ever will. You could have said something, explained your side, defended your choices, laid it all out so she'd understand what she lost, but you didn't. You said nothing. You let her say what she had to say, maybe even walk away thinking she had the upper hand. And that's exactly why it stays with her, because silence creates space. And in that space, her mind starts working over time. She'll revisit the moment, looking for clues, trying to figure out why you didn't respond. Was it indifference? Was it strength? Does he not care anymore? Or does he care so much he's beyond words? That mystery, it haunts. Because when a man doesn't react, a woman is left with one thing she can't control, her own thoughts. And in that reflection, something deeper takes hold. She doesn't remember the argument. She remembers your stillness. She remembers the way you didn't lower yourself to emotional warfare, the way you didn't need to win the moment because you were playing for something bigger, self-respect. That silence wasn't passive, it was precise. You weren't avoiding a fight, you were protecting your energy. And now, instead of remembering a man who broke, she remembers a man who never needed to speak to be heard. That's not weakness, that's psychological control. Number 7. Detachment isn't indifference, it's mastery. They confuse it every time. The moment you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop showing emotion, they think you've gone cold, that you stopped caring, that you feel nothing. But that's not what detachment is. Detachment isn't the absence of feeling, it's the presence of discipline, because you do feel, you just don't let those feelings lead. She says something to get a rise out of you, nothing. She plays hot and cold, nothing. She disappears, then comes back like nothing happened. You stay steady, not because you're numb, but because you've trained yourself to respond only to what deserves a response. Detachment is the ability to observe everything, her words, her patterns, her energy, without letting it disrupt your center. And once you reach that level, she no longer knows where she stands with you. And that's what drives her crazy. You've created uncertainty without effort, mystery without manipulation. She can't pin you down emotionally anymore. And that's what makes you powerful. Because now she's reacting to you, wondering what you're thinking, wondering if you care, wondering if she lost her grip on a man who used to bend for her. She didn't lose your love. She lost your access. And once a man reaches emotional mastery, he doesn't go back to over-explaining, over-giving, or overreacting. He moves with clarity, calm, calculation. That's not apathy. 8. The calmest man in the room holds the real power. That's elevation. Number 8. The calmest man in the room holds the real power. Chaos screams, power whispers. When everyone's emotional, when voices rise and reactions explode, the loudest person might look like they're in control, but it's the man who stays calm, focused, completely unfazed that truly owns the room. He doesn't have to compete. He doesn't have to prove. His stillness speaks for him. And people notice. She notices when she tries to trigger you and you don't move. She notices when she goes silent, expecting a chase, and you don't follow. She notices when she brings drama and you don't participate because now your energy doesn't respond to chaos. It responds to truth. And if what she brings doesn't align with clarity, peace, or progress, you don't even flinch. That kind of calm is intimidating, not because you're passive, but because you're untouchable. Your self-respect is too intact. Your standards are too high. Your peace is non-negotiable. And the moment she realizes you can't be baited, manipulated, or broken, that's when everything shifts. You become rare, valuable, respected, not because you fought harder, but because you didn't need to fight at all. That's what Stoic power is. Not the absence of fire, but knowing exactly when to use it. 9. The man who responds last responds best. Number 9. The man who responds last responds best. In every emotional exchange, timing is everything. She wants an instant reaction because that means she still has immediate access to your emotions. It means her words still hit, her absence still hurts, her games still work. But when you pause, when you don't react on her timeline, when you make her wait, you take control of the entire dynamic. Because the man who responds last is the one who's thinking. You're not reacting out of pain. You're observing, calculating, deciding whether it's even worth your energy. And when you do respond, it's not emotional. It's measured, clear, intentional. There's no desperation, no weakness, no confusion, just precision. And that response, it lands harder than any emotional outburst ever could because it isn't meant to create noise. It's meant to end the conversation. She'll notice the delay. She'll feel the shift. She'll sense that she's no longer in your head the way she used to be. And in that silence, in that pause, her imagination starts doing all the work because now you're not chasing her. She's wondering what you're thinking. The man who reacts immediately is ruled by emotion. The man who responds deliberately, he rules the moment. And once you learn to wait, to breathe, to choose your silence as carefully as your words, you stop playing checkers. You start playing 10th. Mastery means needing nothing from the chaos chess. Number 10. Mastery means needing nothing from the chaos. You used to crave the closure, the apology, the reassurance that you mattered. So you stayed in the cycle, reacting, explaining, proving, hoping that maybe this time she'd understand, validate, see you. But every time you engaged, you gave her the one thing she needed to keep you tied to the chaos, your emotional need. But now you need nothing. Not the explanation, not the attention, not the reaction that proves you still care. You've outgrown it. The man you are now doesn't reach back into fire to feel warmth. He's created a fire of his own. And that internal fire, discipline, peace, purpose, burns hotter than any moment of validation she could ever offer. This is what mastery looks like. No longer needing to win the argument. No longer trying to be right. No longer chasing someone who weaponized your loyalty. You're no longer playing to get anything because you've already got the one thing they can't fake or take. Self-command. She lost access to a man who would have done anything for her. And you gained access to a man who now does everything for himself. You don't win because you proved a point. You win because you never needed to anymore. That's dark, stoic control. Power built in silence. Unshakable, unbothered, and completely free. She wanted emotion. She wanted chaos. She wanted proof that she still lived in your head, Rentré. But instead, she got silence. She got stillness. She got a man who doesn't break because he no longer reacts. You didn't win by overpowering her. You won by outgrowing the game entirely. No chasing, no defending, no proving, just presence, just purpose, just control. That's the man she'll remember. The one she couldn't shake, the one she couldn't read, the one who never had to raise his voice to own the room. If you're done giving energy to chaos and ready to move in power, hit that like button, subscribe to Stoic Blessing, turn on notifications and comment below. Control is earned in silence. This is what happens when discipline becomes your default. She loses access, you gain everything.